What's up, guys? This is Alex Feinberg, and today we're going to talk about some of the basics surrounding intuitive eating. If you're not already familiar, in November 2019, I put out a book, 10 Easy Wins for Easier Fat Loss, where I detail the many adjustments I've made over a multi-year period that allowed me to drop to around 4% body fat without ever carefully limiting or tracking my calories. That book goes into a little bit more detail than what I'm going to over the video right now, but these are the most important points that I have found for being able to be successful eating intuitively. So the most important thing regarding eating intuitively is eating when you're hungry until you're not hungry. And I mean that literally. So what I would do is if dinner is at 7 p.m. and I'm not hungry, I would rather eat that food cold or maybe heat it up in a microwave at 9 p.m. than eat it when I'm not craving it at 7 p.m. My belief is that my body, when it's not hungry, doesn't really have much to do with the food that I put in it other than store it as fat. And that hypothesis, at least for me, has worked out. Now, what that can mean for you is there's a few different ways you can eat until you're not hungry, right? If you're trying to lose a lot of weight, eating until right before you're full might actually be enough. Whereas if you're looking to firm up a little bit or you're just looking for a little bit more direction, it might make sense to simply eat until you're full. And if you're trying to bulk or you're going through a power phase of your program, eating till slightly beyond the feeling of full is something that you can experiment with. And you should know how this feels. You know what it feels like to be partially full. You know what it feels like to be actually full. And you know what it feels like to be beyond full. And so everything that you're doing in the program would revolve around understanding these satiation points and eating approximately to them. But as you understand, your intuition is not always going to be perfect. There's many things that we can forecast will throw off your intuition. And what we want to be able to do when we're making these forecasts is, number one, eliminate these experiences as much as we can or reduce them. But if we can't eliminate or reduce them, we need to know how they affect our hunger levels and what we need to do in response. So as you can see, sleep, stress, sugar, and alcohol tend to be disorienting factors. In addition, water, which I didn't include, hydration. And so if any of these things are messed up, chances are the amount that you think is appropriate to eat will also be off. And so you need to know yourself and know how you respond to most of these things. Most of these things, if you have the unhealthy amount, will make you hungrier, but that's not always the case. So for me personally, if I'm stressed out, I don't eat enough, whereas many people eat too much and maybe eat the wrong proportions. Maybe they'll eat more carbs than protein. And so when I'm personally stressed out, I make sure that I eat beyond my satiation point because I need extra calories. But if you find you have the opposite experience, it's probably more sensible to eat to below your satiation point when you're experiencing the things that make you overeat. Now, the other thing that I didn't list is the consumption of real foods. You'll find out over time that if you're consuming real protein dominant food, that tends to satisfy you and it tends to make your workouts easier, which will create a flywheel effect where you're training hard, you're feeling like you're putting in all of your max effort in the gym, and then the food that you're eating will feel like it's going towards making you recover better and getting another good workout in the next time. That's the flywheel effect that we're looking for. And the last thing that's important, in addition to eating real protein dominant food when you're hungry, is always giving the tie to lean protein. So sometimes you're feeling a little bit hungry, you don't really know what you want. Maybe you could be eating one thing or the other thing. In an intuitive eating program, for it to work optimally, what I have found is that every time I'm not craving something in particular, the meal is going to be lean protein. I personally choose a shrimp or a lobster or some seafood. You can choose anything that you want, but it's very, very hard to go wrong eating lean protein as your default meal. So again, 3 basic rules. Eat real protein dominant food when you're hungry until you're not. Understand the disorienting factors in your life and make adjustments accordingly. And every time you're open to eating one thing or another, the tie is going to go to lean protein. As I mentioned, I cover this in more comprehensive detail in my book, 10 Easy Wins for Easier Fat Loss. Check out the link in the description. And if you'd like, have a look.